Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Happy New Year! I know we're already over a week into 2022, but this is the first time I've spoken to you this year, so I think it's okay to still say that. As my podcast is now approaching a year old, I thought I'd have a look back over the last year and pick out some of my favourite episodes. If you're new to the podcast, you maybe haven't heard some of these, so you might like to go back and have a listen to some of these previous guests. My very first guest was Lady Adi, who's the author of Successful Business Networking Online. She's actually just updated the book and it's going to be out again soon, and I'm one of the contributors this time. I'm really looking forward to seeing my name and my words in print. Lady really is the expert when it comes to online networking. She's done so much research around it, so I can definitely recommend checking out that episode, which was number 4. Episode number 6 was a chat with Felicity Francis. She's the founder of Talk Networking, and Talk Networking run a number of different styles of online networking events. Do check out that episode to find out more about them. I really enjoy Felicity's events and I can highly recommend them. Episode 17 was an interview with David Johnson Rayner. He runs Koi Sports CIC. And this is something really different. So he has a networking organisation where the membership fees that people pay don't just go to support the running of the meetings, but also to support grassroots sports. And members can choose which local sports team they want their membership fee to go to. I thought this was a really interesting way of combining networking with doing good in the community. One of my favourite episodes must be episode 21, which was an interview with Robin Allen. If you haven't come across Robin, she's an expert in insurance, particularly personal protection, and she's been making great use of TikTok to help promote her business. I can recommend following Robin on LinkedIn. She often posts her TikTok videos on there, and they're often hilarious. We had a really great conversation with a lot of laughs, so do check out episode 21. Another great guest was David O'Brien. He was in episode 25, talking about the future of networking. Of course, things have changed so much over the last 2 years, from before the pandemic, when all networking pretty much was done in person, to during the pandemic, where everything was online, to now where we're in a situation where some takes place face-to-face, but still quite a lot is online. And David had some really interesting insights as to where he thought networking would be going next. Austin Hempstead was my guest in episode 29. This was a really lively conversation. Austin is the master of networking and he had some really great tips to share. That episode was entitled It's Not About You, and that's something that I often speak about in this podcast. It's really not about you. If you make your networking about the other people in the room, you're going to do so much better at it. The following episode, number 30, was an interview with Mark Webb. This was another really engaging conversation. Mark heads up the E Factor and the Business Hive, which are based in Grimsby, but you don't need to be from this part of the country to appreciate what Mark has to say about networking. Another of my favourites was episode 34. This was an interview with John Hinchliffe. He's the founder of the Global Learning and Development Community, something which is developed thanks to the pandemic. The interview was punctuated by John's wife's hairdryer, and I think my dog gets a look in too. We also had some problems towards the end of the interview, a battery running out or some internet problems, I think. But nevertheless, it was a really great conversation and well worth having a listen to. Another great conversation was with Richard Askham. This was episode 42. Richard is a marketeer and a public speaker, and we had a really great conversation. A project that he's working on at the moment has connections to the next mission to the moon, which is why this episode is called Marketing on the Moon. To find out what that actually means, you'll have to have a listen to that episode. Finally, another standout episode was number 46, an interview with Jennifer Gilmore. Jennifer is a domestic abuse survivor, a published author, and the founder of the Latte and Live Network. Jen's meetings are always a lot of fun. She always starts with some kind of icebreaker activity, which generally gets people laughing before the meeting has even begun. To find out more about Jen's story, have a listen to that episode, 46. So that's my roundup of 2021 and some of the episodes that I really enjoyed recording. There are lots of other great episodes too, of course, and I do hope that if you're new to this podcast, that you'll go back and have a listen to some of the things that you've missed. There's lots more coming in 2022, of course, and if you'd like to be featured on the podcast, then do get in touch with me. I'm always looking for business owners who've got great networking stories to share. Maybe you met your business partner through networking, or your best client came from networking, or your best friend even. Whatever your story is, I would love to hear about it. Just drop me a line to liz@lizdrury.co.uk and we'll set up an interview. That's all from me for now, but do join me again next week for another episode of Small Business, Big Network. Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.